Testing. Test. Test. There we go. All right, we're in business. Okay, sorry for that. All right, today we're looking at a subject to deal. So in this case, we've been looking at properties that have been bought on subject to, but today we have a financing piece of it from the seller. So this makes it what we call as a sub to hybrid deal. Now, typically when a seller buys a property on subject to, it's usually because the seller has some sort of pain. For example, yesterday we saw that the seller had a VA loan, which means they probably bought the property with very little equity or very little down payment. And as a result, for some whatever reason, they fell behind on their mortgage, and that's why they had some arrears. Now, when someone sells it on a subject to deal with a seller financing piece, generally they're trying to maximize on their gains, right? Sub to typically has some pain involved, but when you have a seller financing piece, they're typically trying to maximize their gain, usually on the purchase price, or maybe they just want to have a longer term total gain when you incorporate interest into it. So this property is 7404 Hawthorne Way, Aubrey, Texas 76227. The purchase price is $509,000. The mortgage rate is 3.25%. The seller carry, which is the seller financing piece, is also at 3.25%. So that's going to make it easy. And we're just going to show you how to plug it in, the actual mechanics of plugging in a subject to a hybrid deal today. So using this process going forward, you see that the total monthly payment is $4,138. We're going to make sure we remember that because that's what we're going to use to determine the cash flow on this deal. The entry fee is $49,250. So let's go ahead and plug some of these numbers in. 509,000. The mortgage 3.25% for both of these sub to deal and a seller financing piece. Your entry fee is $49,000. This is a 2,300 4x3 bath. $39,250 to the seller. $39,250 to the seller. no arrears. You have $10,000 of assignment, which is right here in E21. You get 2.5% for closing costs. Might be a little high. I'm going to go down to 2% for this person because 10 grand seems really high for closing costs. I'm just going to lower it just to have that in case. And my total payment is 4138, and that includes HOA and the solar payment. Great. We don't care about that. The whole point of determining the cash flow piece is that you can use this total monthly payment number. I'm going to show you how, right? So the existing loan, let's plug this in, 296,164. $296,164. That's the principal on the first primary mortgage loan. And then I got a maturity of 11/30/51. So I'm going to do 11/30/2021, just backing 30 years back from that. A solar loan of 37 grand. I'll put that in here, 37,207. The seller carry portion is going to be right here, 163,586. So I'm going to put this into the secondary loan, 163,586, 3.25, 10-year balloon with a 3.25% interest rate. Cool. So include this loan and put this as true. Boom. So now this loan's in here as well. So now I'm going to go to this property tax number in B28 because I need to back into how much am I paying currently for the escrow amount. And it's going to be different every single month, right? Because the interest and the principal also differ every single month. So all you need is the total amount of the monthly payment that's been disclosed by this wholesaler. So you use 4138 and subtract the principal and interest portion in B20, B21 of the subject to loan. Subtract the principal and interest portion in B22 and B23. And then you're also going to subtract the principal and interest portion for the solar loan whenever you get the interest percentage. But for now, you don't need the exact interest portion for the solar payment because all you're trying to do right now is figure out when I'm going to cash flow on this deal. So on this property, you are going to be paying roughly $2,033 in escrow for taxes and insurance. Now, typically, I add another $30 for insurance because whenever you go from a primary residence property to an investment property, the premium goes up because insurance companies view it as a higher risk product. So that's why you typically have to pay more in terms of insurance premiums. Then I got 10% set aside for my maintenance every single month. I got 10% for my property management, and then I got 5% for my vacancy. And that's how you're going to get your negative 2,685, assuming you rent this property out as a 4-bedroom. Wait, we didn't get the rent yet, excuse me. So we got to calculate the rents. So now they got our expenses in, you had to look up this property. And when you look at this property, 7404 Hawthorne Way, you can kind of see that this property is pretty good condition. Yeah, I don't see you need to change this thing at all, especially if it's for a rental. So this is why you can tell that this person's selling on a seller finance deal. So they listed it at $499, I'm guessing, and now they're selling it for $509. So they're getting an extra 10 grand on top of what they're asking in exchange for them becoming the bank. So you can kind of see how they maximize the gain situation, right? They're selling the property for 10 grand more than asking, but then in return, they're going to make some interest on their money for the equity that they built in the house over time. But even if even if the buyer decides to sell their home a little bit earlier, they're guaranteed the extra 10 grand because they have to pay off all the underlying loans, right? So just be careful of that. And so going forward, what we're going to do is let's see what county this property is in. So I'm going to look up the word county. This is in Denton County. So I'm going to look at the rent ceiling first for Section 8. And I'm going to do that by looking up HUD FMR, clicking on the first link, scrolling down and clicking on access to small area FMRs, looking up the FY 2025 FMRs. And now I'm going to go to Texas, and this is in Denton County. And then that's going to give me by zip code, by bedroom count. This is in 76227. 76227. You're going to get the rent ceiling as $4,000. And then you're also going to have your 3-bedroom at $3,120. So, wow, what a big difference, right? $3,120 and $4,010. Now, don't get too excited yet, all right? Because even then, 76227. Even then, you're still below the cash flow number. But let's just do this out after we look at the rent reasonableness test. Now, the next thing I need to look up is I need to compare the rent ceiling against the market rent. For me to get the market rent, I have to go to affordablehousing.com. I'm going to go to the owner section. I'm going to go to the market rent estimator, plug in the address, plug in the bedroom count. And that's how I get that for 23 units that are 4 bedrooms within a 0.31 mile radius, the average rent is $28.13. This tells me convincingly that the market has not caught up to the rent ceiling that's been established by the HUD. So because of the rent reasonableness test, and let me show you what the rent reasonableness test is. I'm going to pull up the Housing Choice Voucher Program Guidebook. HCV, or Housing Choice Voucher, is what was previously known as Section 8. They rebranded from Section 8 to the Housing Choice Voucher Program because they were trying to get away from all the stigma associated with Section 8. So this is why they had this. And in Section 2.2, under the comparability section, it says that in conducting rent reasonableness, the PHA must determine whether the rent to the owner is a reasonable rent in comparison to rent for other comparable unassisted units. In determining comparability, the PHA must consider the following factors where appropriate and practical. So obviously size and unit type matters. You don't see that many 4-bedroom apartments. So that's why I'm assuming these 23 units within such a short radius of 0.31 mile radius, these are all rentals and they're all single family homes because you really don't see 4-bedroom apartments being built that often. So that's why we have it. And so now as a 4-bedroom, right, let's look at my gross rent. So because I had to use the lower of the two, I had to use $28.13, $2813. So if I rent this as a 4-bedroom for $28.13, I'll be negative cash flow 2058, and that's a negative 38.9% return on my capital, assuming I bought this property for $509,000. With the $4,000 rehab, that's pretty light, but I mean, you can go to the rehab calculator and put in your own numbers, but it's relatively turnkey. So $4,000 seems pretty reasonable for me. Now, even if you, and just remember, right, this is $4,010. It's not reasonable rent right now. And usually this $4,000 includes some sort of utility. So let's just say, let's take out $300. So let's say $3,710, right? If I put in $3,710, what am I going to make on this property? This tells me that even in my best case scenario, and I'm in a county where this is the exception, not the rule, right? Usually the rent reasonableness test applies all the time unless there's some form of additional subsidies that the city or the county offers Section 8 landlords. Well, you're still going to be losing $1,385 a month, right? That's still not a deal for me personally. Again, this is not investment advice. I'm not soliciting any investments on the call. Simply showing you all what I do every single day and just to kind of get the reps in and analyze the deals every single day. So now with 2813, it's not a deal. Even with 3710, it wasn't a deal. So that's how I know I don't need to look in this deal further because it's not worth my time. And we want to avoid burnout, right? Burnout typically happens when you do a lot of work for no return on your effort or your energy or your time. This is a really great way to kind of rule out these deals so that you don't spend more time on it than you would have. Now, can you wrap it? Can you analyze the deal further? Yeah, sure. Could you buy as a prime residence? Yeah, sure. But for me, this is not my strategy. If I only want to look at and focus on one strategy, then you understand relatively quickly how fast you can underwrite the deal, why you would be looking for a certain type of property based on your rental assumptions, whether it's a short-term rental, mid-term rental, whatever you want to do. That's what it takes, right? For you to understand how to come up with a set of terms that makes a deal. And today it was just good to kind of practice. How do you put in additional loans, such as a solar loan? How do you put in additional loans, such as the seller financing equity portion into the spreadsheet, right? So you guys want to copy the spreadsheet. Again, I didn't make it from scratch. I got it from a few other folks. I simply combine it, modify it so that it analyzes the deal a lot faster for myself personally. And you can go to affordablehousing.io, put in your name, email, your phone number, and that's the fastest way for you to get a copy of the spreadsheet. And that's it. I hope you guys copy my homework. I hope you guys put it on your own YouTube channel. I hope you guys can demonstrate to yourself that you know what you're doing by putting in time, the energy, and putting in the reps. That's it. Doing the reps. All right. I hope you all have an amazing Wednesday. I hope you guys join me again tomorrow for day 334 days in a row of going live, analyzing a deal. All right. Have an amazing day, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow.